All right, what is up, Path of Exile fans? In this video, I have curated for you what I think are the absolute best resources out there currently, right now, about a month, a little bit over a month into the Settlers of Kalguur League. Shipping, okay, largely solved at this point. Recombinators, the mechanics of recombinators, largely solved at this point. Atlas map runners, I'll talk about that. And I've got some other nice little helpful tips for you that I found. I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm just going to talk about other YouTubers, YouTube videos. I've got one Reddit post up. I don't know if everyone has already found all these resources or not. So what I've done is everything that I've consumed over the last month, which is quite a lot, YouTube videos and other things, I've compiled what should be the most efficient ones for you to use in case you've missed these. I don't know, maybe you're a newer player. If you're a player who's already consumes every YouTube video and every article put out, you can probably skip this. But if not, you're definitely going to want to wait till the end of the video, because I can guarantee you one of these things I'm going to talk about, one of these tips, is going to be something that's going to really help you a lot. So with that said, let's just go ahead and get into it. I don't want to waste any more time. All right, so let's start with shipping. Okay, like I said, I think shipping is largely solved. Let's call it 90% solved to 99% solved. All right, so how is it solved exactly? Well, the greatest Path of Exile YouTuber of all time, perhaps, ZiggyD, who probably most everyone knows, and a lot of you have probably already seen these videos, but just in case you missed it, I'm just going to start here. ZiggyD has put out 2 videos on all of the mechanics. They did, him and his community, they did tons and tons of testing. And even in the second video, there was apparently like a statistician in training that tried to run all these statistics on it to figure everything out. So first of all, if you are very new beginner to the game and somehow this is the first video you wound up to learn about these things and shipping and ZiggyD and all this stuff, if you want to learn the basic mechanics of shipping, the first thing I'm going to recommend for you is ZiggyD's just first video he put out about a month ago. All of these videos and everything I'm going to talk about, I'm going to put links in the description. So if you're interested in this, you can just click it. So in his first video, he spends about 20 minutes basically just talking through all of the basics that you would need to get into shipping. But there is also a lot of ideas and recommendations for how you should do shipping if you want to maximize your returns. Now, shipping was not really solved at that point. Personally, I would say, even though he said in the video title, okay, it's been solved, tested and solved, I wouldn't really say it was really solved at that point. Now, ZiggyD, this is a pretty recent video. It just came out when I'm recording this. It only came out 2 days ago. It'll be a few days more once I get this video actually out and released. But it's a pretty recent video. I've already watched this, I think, twice, or listened to it twice. This is a amazing, great, just amazing video. All right. He, with all of his community and him together, there was tons and tons of so much testing done, all these different data points that they used. Again, they ran statistics on it and tried to figure out truly, how does shipping work? How do the internals work? And truly solve shipping. All right. So this is where I'm going to go ahead and say shipping is more or less, to a large extent, solved at this point. I'm not going to say, sorry about that. I'm not going to say it's 100% solved at this point. The reason why is in this video, he gives you basically 2 recommendations. Okay. And the other thing I'm going to do in this video is, in addition to telling you about all these and telling you kind of where to go to find all this information, I'm going to give you like my shortest possible summary that I can come up with to kind of also curate the content of these also. So what he basically says in this video is he thinks there's kind of like 3 different ways you should do shipping. Okay. Way 1 is like the super cheap way where you basically just send the minimum possible shipments. And I think it's a great idea if you just want to just send minimum shipments. And he said you send, I think it was 5 Verisium bars. I think it's a great idea. That's if you want to go the absolute minimum route. You're always going to win if you do that, because you're also going to get the pirate to spawn and other things. And you do get some decent amount of scarabs. Apparently, I haven't used the Verisium bar way that much yet. So that's way number 1. Okay, now let's say you want to actually do shipping. Okay, so he basically recommends 2 different strategies. The first is you're going to send around like 700,000-ish in value. So actually, this screenshot right here is pretty much the most important thing in this video. He says if you send around 700,000 in value, you're going to get at least 1 divine about 50% of the time. So if you look at this graphic, all right, this is the shipment value. If you go to 700,000, if you go up to the top here, this is where you see it's about 50% to get a divine orb. And then, as he points out in the video, if you were to say, for example, send half of that value at around 350,000, it's not half of that. So instead of 50%, you would think it should be 25%, but apparently it's actually only around like 12%. And the idea here is that if you send 700,000 and if you got the 50% chance, if you're getting instead the 12% chance, it's worse to send that. Doing that in 2 shipments is worse than 700,000. Now, one thing I actually want to point out, I don't know if this is a mistake or not in this video, but the thing is, this is only talking about divine orbs. And, aren't there like a lot of other currency that you get when you send these shipments? So even though you're only getting, I would call it like gumball currency. I don't know if people still use that term. Well, at least when I started playing, everybody called it gumball currency, from what I remember. Like if you go look in my stash tab right now, I have like tons of, quote unquote gumball currency. I've got all these like chromatics and what else, chromatics and regrets and things like that I may actually need, and I may use them. And that way, it's just less trading that I have to do and less clicking like on the currency exchange to go get all those other orbs. So, those have real value, vol orbs. At the start of the league, you actually have to use vol. You use vol orbs to progress your atlas. So it is nice and good to actually have some of that stuff. Okay, maybe as the league goes on, it's better to just get the straight divine orbs, but I don't know. So that was one thing that I felt like was kind of missing from the video. Maybe it's in the document, which if we go here, the other thing that ZiggyD does with these is he puts out these just amazing, crazily, greatly just amazing documents that have all this extra information. I haven't looked and read through that yet. I don't know if I will or not, but maybe that's talked about in there. But really what this should be, it should really be more like the total value of the shipment in raw currency that you get back, instead of just presence of a divine. So I'm not sure about that. That's kind of my one thing where is it completely solved at this point? I don't know. And then the other thing I want to point out here is I'll just in case you want me to curate this whole thing for you, is there's this thing that happens, he calls it rolling up. Rolling up is where supposedly what happens is things like chaos orbs and other orbs will end up getting converted and quote unquote rolled up into a divine orb. Then what happens is as the shipment value increases, the divine orbs will kind of disappear and get quote unquote rolled up into apparently sacred orbs. So apparently divine orbs kind of disappear and become sacred orbs. And sacred orbs, as it pointed out, are worth actually less than divines. So what could happen is there could be this value, valley, he calls it, where as you keep increasing the shipment value, you might actually get less rewards because sacred orbs are worth less than divines. And so they're estimating this is somewhere between in the 10 to 30 million range. So that's why then the final recommendation is you either do these 700-ish thousand shipments where you've got this 50% divine orb chance, or you go for something like a 50, I believe he said just, like 50 million shipment. And when you do 50 million shipment, he talks about what you're going to get in that. The other thing I felt like was a little bit lacking is, okay, those are the 2 recommendations. So which one's just better in general? If you're an end game player and you have like a bunch of gold, which one should you do? Just which one at the end of the day? So those are a couple points that I think maybe are still a little bit missing. At the end of the day, all anybody should really care about, I think, with shipping is just what's the overall best strategy. That's all, right? Because at the end of the day, you're effectively just converting gold straight into currency, and you just want the gold to be converted as efficiently as possible. So maybe they talk about that in the document. I'd have to check. I'm not sure. I can maybe do another follow-up video to this in the future talking about that stuff if anybody's more interested in that. Okay. So I talked about the 3 different shipment styles. That's pretty much everything. I don't think there's really anything more that needs to be talked about shipping. If you want the nitty-gritty details, you can watch either one of these videos and you can check out the document that ZiggyD has in his description. Okay, so next let's move on to Recombinators. All right, so Recombinators are, in my opinion, 90 to 99% solved also. They work mostly the same as before, I think largely the same as before, but with some huge major changes. So the number one thing here is there was this guide put out on Reddit. This is also relatively recent. It's about 2 weeks old. And this is the 3.25 updated guide to Recombinators. Again, I will link all this stuff in the description below. Their own TLDR is the new use cases of Recombinators are very good. Okay, so there's new ways that are being recommended to use Recombinators. It's using something called exclusive modifiers. So if you want to know, again, the nitty gritty details of this is a huge document, which I think I read this whole document, and it's well written. Once you read the document, you'll understand everything. Okay. Sirgog, I actually originally learned about this because Sirgog on YouTube, who's a a good YouTuber for more advanced Path of Exile players who want to get like super into the nitty gritty details. I don't know if everybody subscribes to this guy or not, but he does put out good YouTube videos. So Sirgog is the reason I originally learned about this. You can also hear him talk about it, but you can do that if you want a kind of more of a video form, or you can just read the original document, which I think reading the original document is perfectly fine. It's well written, and you should be able to understand everything. I will also, once again, try to give as short and sweet as possible kind of curated version of what the good, interesting information is here. And in my opinion, there's basically two pieces of information that kind of summarize why they say it's good now in this kind of new method of abusing it. Okay, there's basically two things that go on here. The first is what's called exclusive modifiers. So there's a whole bunch of modifiers in the game on items. So for example, beast aspects is one that they talk about a lot because they actually use it to do this little cheat thing. And there's all these other ones, so it's unfortunate, there's all these things that you can't really combine together. So essences. So for example, if you have two items and each one has an essence modifier on it, once you recombine them, the recombined item can only have one essence modifier. So you start with two. In the end, you can only have one. If you also have beast aspects on those items. So let's say each item has a beast aspect and an essence. Both of them have that. Once you recombine the two items, you can only have one of all of those modifiers. There can only be one final modifier on the original item. So you had 4 of these modifiers in the pool. You had 2 essences and 2 beast aspects. Only one mod of those 4 can be chosen for the final item. And the way that this gets abused is if we come down here a little bit further, the other thing they talk about in this document is like, okay, so what are some modifiers that this doesn't apply to, so that are the things we're trying to get combined, because those are operating like normal. So if we come down here a little bit, this is the chart that shows how many mods you have in the mod pool. Let's just call this for prefixes. This is for if you a prefix or a suffix. So let's just assume we're talking about prefixes. So if you have prefixes, you can have up to a total of 6 total prefixes in the pool when you recombine them. So you can have 3 prefixes on one and 3 prefixes on the other. If you have 3 prefixes on both items, once you recombine them, there's a 28% chance that the new item will pick 2 of those 6 to have a 2 prefix new item. And there's a 72% chance, which is really good, that you're going to get 3 of those 6 chosen. So, and the other thing is that these exclusive modifiers, it counts for both the prefixes and the suffixes. So it's exactly like I said, you can only have one. So even if you have all these essence modifiers and beast aspects, let's just assume somehow you could have 5 essence modifiers on both items. Out of all 10 of those modifiers, you can only choose one, just period, in the end. So what you're basically going to do is you're going to stack up as many of these exclusive modifiers as you possibly can. And then when you recombine the item, it's basically, since you're going to have 6 in the prefix pool and 6 in the suffix pool, you're very likely always going to end up getting 3 mods. And you're going to kind of force what mods those are going to be, because the other mods are going to be these exclusive mods that can't get chosen multiple times. So one of them will get chosen in one of the halves, and then all the other mods that get chosen are the ones that you wanted. So you'll take like one item with like 2 or 3 really amazing mods, another item with like 2 or 3 really amazing mods, and then you'll just fill all the other slots with exclusive modifiers. So you're like maximizing your chances of just getting what you want. And I agree, this does seem like a really insane crafting method. I'm looking forward to getting into endgame crafting. It's not something I've done, but now that I'm doing this YouTube channel, I definitely want to in the future. So stay tuned if you're interested in that as well. I do. In fact, I may even mess around with this Recombinator stuff, but there's definitely other YouTubers that are even talked about in this document if you also want to go look at YouTubers abusing this. So you can find that as well. This is an absolutely amazing document. Whoever made this is incredible. And again, Sirgog, if you're interested in this YouTuber as well, this is how I originally learned about it. So I just want to give a shout out to him for letting me know about it, because I haven't been actively checking the Reddit. I've been focused more on YouTube recently. Okay, that's everything for Recombinators. We'll call it largely solved. Another thing that I'll point out, I'll try to remember to put this in the description also. Path of Math, a long time ago, made an original Recombinator video. I'll try to remember to put a link to that one also, or you can just search it yourself. If you want like the absolute full picture of Recombinators, you can get kind of the original really great video on using them, and then you can get kind of this updated one, because the other one is a little bit old now because there's been a lot of patches and stuff. All right, so next, Next is the Atlas map runners. So this is something I've been kind of waiting for someone to put out a good guide on this. I want to, just see somebody who's really goes in depth, a full discussion of all the ins and outs, different use cases, abuse cases, and things like that, and gives kind of recommendations about how they think you should use it. Okay, this one, unfortunately, is the only one I'm going to talk about in this video where I don't feel like there's a ZiggyD, unbelievably crazy level, high quality, set of videos out there that talk about the Atlas map runners. To prepare for this video and try to have all these amazing curated resources, because I felt like this is a little bit of a hole right now, I actually went out and I actually searched on YouTube for great videos that people could watch for this. And to be honest, I really couldn't find any. And YouTube, it's in the search results, there just weren't any even videos. There was 2 videos, and I watched them both, and they just, they weren't this kind of high epic level curation quality level videos. So this one right now is kind of a hole. It's kind of a question mark. So I'm going to actually leave this to you, the listener, the viewer. Does anybody out there know of a end all be all incredible resource for, everything you could possibly want to know about the Atlas map runners? If so, let me know in the comments, and then maybe I'll do a follow-up video to this one where I'll go ahead and add that in, and we can call that solved as well. The only thing that I will point out for these is, in the little bit that I did search to prepare for this video, I do think it is kind of a good tip to think about putting influence maps in there. So for example, the maps where you get Cyrus shards, what are those called? Conquerors maps or whatever they're called. For example, if you run a Minotaur map, you get one shard for the end game boss, right? The Minotaur shard. What's the shard called? I don't know. Minotaur shard. You run a Minotaur map, you get a Minotaur shard. There's all these different maps, right? That when you kill the boss, you get the shard at the end. So what you can do is basically go look at the costs of all these maps, buying them in bulk, and you can go look at the price of all the shards. And there was a tip where if you buy I think it was one of the Cyrus shards, there's a 10 chaos map that you get a 30 chaos shards. So you can just run that map all the time, and you're always going to get the guaranteed 20 chaos. Okay, that is a good tip. I agree. But that's basically all I could find on this. So maybe keep that in mind if you haven't thought about that yet for your Atlas map runners. But I'm still going to be waiting for this. So we'll see on this one. All right. And maybe if I do another one of these videos in a couple weeks, this one I'll just have a solved also, and I'll have a great resource that everybody can use for that. Okay, next I want to shout out one helpful tip that I thought was just one of the best random tips that I heard all league so far, which is to start thinking about adding item rarity to your character for farming gold in the maps. This is not something that I would have assumed or would have guessed that this is how the game mechanics work. So item rarity, is usually on your character. You get a rare item dropped on the ground will turn into a unique item on the ground, for example, or a magic item on the ground will turn into a rare item on the ground. Well, item rarity apparently also works for the gold that is dropped. The reason is because the gold is actually being generated by replacing items that the monsters are dropping. So for this one, I want to give a huge shout out to the YouTuber Path of Evening. I'm guessing not everyone is subscribed to Path of Evening, but I do think he's been putting out really great YouTube videos. So I've been kind of following what he's been putting out. And what Path of Evening did, he's got this great 15-minute video that, of course, I will link to in the description. But I'm just going to show one screenshot from the video and kind of summarize this a little bit. And you can go check out the video if you want the full details and information. So what Path of Evening basically did is he ran a bunch of different maps, and he used his character with a bunch of different increased item rarity values. So for example, he scoured. So each one of these values is 5 maps that he did. Okay, so he took a map, he scoured it, so it's just a plain white map, and then he ran 5 of them, and he got about 20,000 gold from 5 maps. Okay, then he went up to 75% increased item rarity, and then he got 23,000 for all 5 maps. So it was an increase of about 22%. Then he ran the 5 maps again at 133% increased item rarity. He got 26,000 this time. So it's about a 35% difference there. Okay, then he ran it. The max was at 185% increased item rarity, and he got 54%. And I won't talk about this part of it because it's probably no one's going to care about it. But you can watch the video if you want the full details. Okay, then he also did Chisel and Alk for the 5 maps. He got 45,000, and I think hopefully by now you kind of understand how this works. So basically, what this is saying is if you run about 75% increased item rarity on your character, you're looking at about, since nobody runs Scour and Goes, I guess maybe we could ignore this one. It seems to usually be less. it's only 5 maps, so I guess this is all just randomness. I don't know, maybe we can just average these together. So we'll just call it like 25 to 30%. So if you run 75% increased item rarity, you're looking at an increase of your overall gold dropping of about 25 to 30%. That's pretty huge, honestly. I think almost anybody, it's like I guarantee you, if you're listening to this video and you didn't already know that increased item rarity also increases the gold that drops on the round, let me know in the comments, y'all, if some of this is new information to you. I'm actually kind of curious, like how ubiquitous a lot of this information is. Did everybody already know this already or not? I wonder. But in case you didn't, here you go. So it's like I almost guarantee you, if you're listening to this and you're learning this for the first time, surely you're thinking about this, because an increase of like about 25% to all the gold that you drop, I mean, that's huge. After 5 maps, getting an extra, in his case, he ran 5 maps, he got 100,000, and then he ran 5 maps and he got basically 140,000. It's a 35%, almost 40, 35% increase. That's so huge. So if you look at my character in the game, I'm actually running a gold flask because of this. And Path of Evening, I do want to recommend this guy again to check out and potentially subscribe to if you're interested, because he gives really great tips also of like easy things you can do to just instantly get up to around 75 or 100% increased item rarity. Like what are like the easiest way to get up to 75 or 133% increased item rarity on your character. Now, if we look here, and so the question is, okay, what's better, like 75%, and how much are there like strong diminishing marginal returns if you go from 75 to 103? Yeah, hard to say because these values are so all over the place. You'd probably have to, and he mentions in the video, you'd probably have to do a lot more tests to be sure about exactly how much is increasing. From what I remember from a long time ago, I believe increased item rarity is supposed to have diminishing marginal returns on that. As you scale up, it's supposed to actually not really give you what it's saying it's giving you. It's supposed to kind of increase at a less rapid rate. But here it's not really looking like that. It went from 25 to 50. Now here it's only from 35 to 43. So I don't know. You can just keep this in mind. Maybe you can try to test it out yourself a little bit. And if there's other resources on this, I know this information is floating around in the community. If there's better resources where people do more tests, again, just let me know in the comments and maybe I'll include that in a follow-up video of like the ultra best curated resources for all these different things. So I think with those out of the way, that's pretty much what I'm going to cover in this video. Okay. If you think about the league, Settlers of Kalguur League, there's basically like 3 main things. There's shipping, which is largely solved at this point, or solved. There's recombinators, which are largely or totally solved at this point. There's Atlas map runners, which, to be fair, like, okay, I didn't find you like a perfectly curated video or resource for it, but it's not like the mechanics are that hard. Like, okay, you get the runners, you put the maps in, they run the maps. And then you get the rewards back. So, I mean, it's fairly straightforward and easy, I think, but it would be kind of nice to understand, like, for how much gold you're putting in, what's like the best strategies and things like that. How do you get the most efficient uses of it? So two of the 3 main mechanics of the league are largely or totally solved at this point. And then you've got like actually generating the gold. I've given you what I think is a great tip for that if you didn't already know, of the increased item rarity. And there are other videos floating around, like Zizarin, for example, put a video of like a very basic, simple strategy for how to run maps and get like, I don't know, 500,000 gold per hour or whatever it was, 1 million per hour, some kind of crazy number like that. And he laid out strategy. There's a lot of people, I think, that are putting out these gold farming strategies. So you can probably find that very easily no matter where you look. So most of the league at this point is largely solved, I would say. There's not like a ton of open questions, but I'm actually going to leave a couple open questions here that if I was going to, for example, do a follow-up to this video, trying to kind of finish the league off, here's a couple of things that I would wonder about. So for example, like, what is the best use of your gold? Okay. Because at the end of the day, you have a choice. You have a choice between like shipping, which is just converting gold into currency and other things. And then you also have a choice of doing Atlas map runners. What do those do? They convert gold directly into stuff that you get from the maps, which you then probably are just going to pretty much sell for currency. I haven't really been doing Atlas map runners because shipping was really good. And then I've also been doing a lot of flipping, and flipping obviously is an amazing way to turn gold directly into currency also. I have a bunch of videos that I've already put out, and I'm probably going to put out several more on flipping. You can check those out also if you want like another additional option. Sorry, I kind of ramble in those videos a little bit more than I should have. There were some of my first videos I put out. So my question is, what's the best use of your gold? I may actually make this video. I may I may actually go through all the stuff about shipping. If I can finally find a good resource on map running, I have a good idea of how the efficiency level of gold to divine orbs when you're doing flipping. So we can kind of just compare and see like, okay, at the end of the day, you have all these choices. Gold is just being converted into currency. Which one should be chosen? Because I think that's mostly all anybody really cares about. So that's maybe a little bit of an open question. I haven't seen that directly addressed. Maybe I'll make the video myself. I don't know. We'll see. Another one is just setting up the city itself. There's lots of information out there, but I haven't found like a great, perfect resource on it. I have seen some Reddit posts and some spreadsheets and stuff. They're pretty good. Maybe you could call this solved. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, you basically just hire all the guys and you go test and see which one kind of gives you the most efficiency. There is a spreadsheet floating around. Sorry, I'm not going to include that in this one. But supposedly you're supposed to be able to kind of type the people's wages in, and it's supposed to kind of calculate like how efficient it is, so you'll know if you can buy it or not. That exists out there somewhere if you're interested in that. I've seen things floating around, but it'd be nice to have, for example, like a video on YouTube. So once again, that's a video that I may actually make myself if I can't find it, because I've been thinking about it. I think I found some good easy kind of methods to estimate or just figure out quickly, and it's just efficient. I may make that video myself, because again, that's like the only final step. First is getting the gold. The second is just setting up your city. And then the third is just spending the gold to get stuff through shipping and running maps with your Atlas map runners. All right, with that said, let me know again in the comments, is there anything else left to kind of solve or understand? Let me know. Either I'll make a video on it, or maybe I'll go find resources. And again, yeah, share any other resources I might have missed in this video, and I might make another one. And on that same note, let me know, what do you think of a video format like this? If y'all like it, if you think this was useful to kind of go out and curate everything out there. This is a video that I feel like I'm making a video that I would want someone else to make for me to watch. I would like to watch a video like this where every couple of weeks, someone who's kind of paying attention to everything out there, they basically pull everything up, put links in the description of all the best resources that are available, and it should save everybody time from having to actually keep up with everything yourself. So that's why I'm making it. But do let me know what you think. And if I get good enough feedback for this, then I think I'll make a video like this maybe every couple weeks, and I'll try to kind of keep up with what people are posting on YouTube. And I may even start checking the Reddit regularly again, potentially. All right. So again, links in the description. And if you like the video, if you want to see more like this, then feel free, please hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. See you later.